Mary's still waiting for the GMHS session to come up on the YouTube channel.
As soon as we're sharing the screen, she has to refresh.
I think we're live.
All righty, welcome back, Mustangs. Appreciate everyone switching over to our Home of the Mustang YouTube channel. As you can see right here, this is a beautiful image of our new state-of-the-art facility. I know Mrs. Sorensis, Mr. Laub, the rest of the admin team has really spent, goodness, I'd say what, 4 to 6 hours in there every day for the last 3-4 weeks. So we're really getting familiar with our incredible facility, and we're looking forward to our students sharing that same experience. For those of you that may have had an opportunity to read the Mustang Spirit the last couple of weeks, we have an image that looks very similar to this. It's actually one that was taken by Miss Jessica Hollinger, one of our parents and faculty members. And she was out one morning, I guess, watching her son's cross country practice, and she took a beautiful picture that's actually going to be on the front cover of our yearbook this year, and we were excited about that. So a lot of great things are happening. I know we're excited to get back, and really what I want to talk about today is what the getting back piece is going to look like. So when we think about the hybrid reopening, I know Principal Hardy and myself, we had an opportunity to kind of go over the overall logistics 6 through 12, but I know there are some unique things that we need to discuss that are relevant to just the Home of the Mustang. So we're going to go ahead and jump in. So I understand that there may be some additional questions after tonight. I appreciate those of you that reached out to Ms. Asel and submitted your questions, and we're going to go through several of those specific questions this evening. If you do have additional questions after this session, during this session, you name it, please make sure you're sending it to the reopening@fccps.org. We will try to get back to you as quickly as possible. Our goal is to really make sure that we're answering all those individual or generic questions, and our goal is to do it prior to break, okay? Make sure in your email you indicate whether your child attends high school or middle school so we can make sure that it goes to the right party, okay? So as I mentioned in the previous presentation, we are very excited about our class of 2021 that's going to be starting on Tuesday, January 5th. We have a scheduled meeting on Tuesday during our advisory period, also our stable group block. And we're going to be meeting with our seniors to talk a little bit about what that particular week is going to look like. Now, please note, they will still be in the actual virtual bell schedule. So when you think about the schedule that they're currently in right now, they're still going to be doing that the week of January 5th through the 8th. All right, if you know that schedule, and I'm sure many of you know it very well, students and families, there are opportunities throughout the day where we're really going to be working with our seniors in small groups, in small pods, to determine some of those logistical items as part of the building. So when you think about 350 students in this huge state-of-the-art facility at once, we feel confident and comfortable that we have plenty of room that our students will be able to move around, transition. We're going to following our mitigation strategies, our different protocols in place. But ultimately, we want our seniors during that week to kind of serve as ambassadors, as leaders. And we're going to be then talking to some of our underclassmen as well. So once again, we're excited to meet with our seniors next week to go over specifically what that's going to look like. Then on Tuesday, January 12th, as we mentioned earlier, we're going to have all of our 6th through now 11th graders, and that's going to be the official start that Tuesday of our hybrid bell schedule that we just went over. And I'm going to get into more depth what that looks like specifically in a moment. I outlined it here. It's a unique opportunity to experience the new school first. We felt like that was very important. We think about, some of the trials and tribulations that our seniors have experienced in the last, year. We also want them to be able to connect and bond with their classmates and teachers. It is going to be a controlled environment. I know everyone keeps asking a little bit about, so what is it going to be like? Is it going to be kind of a coffee shop style where students are going to be able to kind of roam around? Well, we're going to actually have parameters by which students need to adhere to. Yes, they're going to be able to go to the Mustang Mug, which is our quote unquote coffee shop, and maybe buy, let's say, a beverage or a snack. But we're also going to make sure that they're following these protocols that keep each one of our students safe. Okay. And as I mentioned, we really want our seniors to kind of be leaders for the rest of our building. So here is an example of what we're going to be working with during our official hybrid schedule on Tuesday, January 12th. One of the things I just wanted to stress, and I know we talked about it, the independent workday on Monday. So when we think about what we've heard from many of our students, we think about the time that they're in class. Yes, they haven't been in these 85 to 90-minute blocks like they're used to in a traditional face-to-face setting. So many of these courses now are about 55 minutes. And the feedback we receive through many of our surveys and meeting with our student leadership groups is students still need time to complete work. How in the world are we trying to get an entire year's worth of curriculum into a year that's sort of hybrid, no pun intended? And I think that's something that our teachers are challenging our students with, but also our students are asking us what kind of supports can be put in place. And so we believe strongly that not only will the Monday support our teachers for planning, for alignment, for curriculum development, but we want those Mondays to serve as an opportunity to support our students in work completion. All right, and that's something that has been made loud and clear to us. We want to make sure our students have time to complete. And so we'd like to look at that Monday as that. I don't want anyone here to believe, students, and I spoke to many of you earlier today, that, oh my goodness, you're now going to receive additional assignments on that particular Monday. That is not what that Monday is going to be meant for. It's going to give you an opportunity to kind of have agency and to take ownership of your learning and to be able to complete these particular assignments. And that's an important piece to what we believe here with the Home of the Mustangs. And I'm still trying to look for a different way to phrase our new building. So we're just going to go with Mustang High for right now. On Tuesdays, as you can see, we're going to basically have our group one. Our group one is going to be in on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. All right, we're going to go through a typical day as they would, just like they've been going online, except for the blocks are an extended period. They're more mirror what we are used to with those 85, 90 minutes, and I think that's an important piece. The transition times are built in as well. We believe at the high school, I'm going to show you some pictures in a moment, the space that we have will allow students to transition and do so in a way where they are socially distanced and following those protocols in place. The learning support time, if you take a look, from 11:05 to 11:33. This is something we're still in the process of developing, but we recognize that our students do need time to connect with their teachers. And when I say connect with their teachers, we want them to have opportunities to connect on an individual basis. Let's say I need to find out, how I did on a particular writing assignment. I need support in this particular area. Maybe our students with disabilities who need to connect with their case manager. We need to build this time into the schedule to support our students in all facets of their learning. And so we wanted to make sure that that was kept in the schedule. If you take a look at the lunch, we kind of went over it. We extended it. Instead of 3 lunches, we're now going to have 4 lunches. We estimate that's probably going to be about 82 to 85 students per lunch period, which allows students to eat in the cafeteria and really have that important socialization opportunity that we believe is so critical for our students. One additional item I just wanted to point out on Monday, student attendance will be taken, and that's going to be done so through Schoology. Our group one on Wednesday, a very similar schedule. If you take a look at the advisory period, many of our students know that to be our stable group where they are given grade level activities. So our 9th graders, next week, will actually be completing another social emotional learning unit. This is something where we're focusing on students' mental health, and we believe it's very critical. Our 10th grade students are working on their personal project. Our 11th grade students, we have many of our IB diploma candidates that are working with Ms. Sample, working with Mr. Singer. We're also focusing on a sustainability piece that we're going to talk a little bit about in the future as well. And then our 12th grade students, when we think about career and college readiness, we want to make sure that they're given opportunities to complete applications, to complete their essays. And Ms. Muriel, our career and college specialist, has been doing a phenomenal job supporting those particular stable groups. So we want to continue with that particular structure. Then on Thursday and Friday, we're going to have our group 2 who are going to be in, while our group 1, simultaneous learning as we described, is going to be at home getting that similar experience going to each one of their classes. And so that's the way we're going to run it starting on January 12th. And we're excited about the opportunities that are going to be afforded to our students. Just to reiterate, when you think about all staff and students are required to complete the daily wellness check. I can't tell you how important it is. It's something I come in the building almost every single day that I have to go through, that I have to make sure that I'm completing. We're always wearing a mask, as you can see that I'm doing right now. I have Mr. Knight, who's about maybe 12 feet away from me, maybe 16 feet away from me. He's wearing his mask as well. And this is how we kind of operate in this building. It's the new normal, and we are absolutely used to it. And our students, we believe, are going to do the same. We're always maintaining that physical distance, and that's something we're going to work with our students on as well. One of the things that I know Mr. Knight just purchased is a beautiful 360-degree camera, where we will be using that to train our students on what the new building parameters are going to look like. And so we're working on a video to make sure that for those students, we don't want the first day to be that January 12th and then really not have an understanding of what the expectations are. So we're going to make sure that we create this video to support them, and so they have an understanding of what those social distancing and physical distancing expectations are. Once again, the daily staff and student self-monitoring health screening, please make sure you're going through this. We have included this in all of the Mustang Spirits, as well as anything that I send out, so I will make sure to continue to do so throughout the break. One of the things we focused on in the entire secondary session is the arrival piece. We're still working on a lot of the specifics, but I wanted to point out, and I highlighted it here, that please make sure students are not getting here prior to 7:45. It's important as we're conducting the procedures to make sure that all students, we take their temperature, we ask them if they've conducted the self-checklist. All those things are important. For those bus riders, and I know those numbers are relatively small, and that's okay. As Ms. Hardy said, we want to make sure that our families and our students are feeling comfortable in the way that their child is getting to and from school. And so we're going to support that in whatever you decide. But we do have many more riders, walkers, and bikers than we do bus riders. And when you think about the logistics behind that, that's something I just want everyone to recognize and know. I will emphasize once again the walking and biking to make sure that you access the entrances here at the secondary campus. Out of all of the questions that I've received, I can probably say that I've received most about this particular topic. And I wish I had more information. I think I was meeting with Mary Easel today, and I talked to her a little bit about the fact that we just are in the unknown right now when it comes to allowing our students to drive to the particular campus. We believe that that is something that may come to fruition, and we're hopeful that we're going to have an answer to our seniors and maybe some of our juniors by hopefully the end of next week. There still are parking lots that are close by that students can access, but that's going to obviously cost. I know right next door it's $5. We will be making sure that students have opportunities there. But in terms of parking on campus, we do not know if we're going to be able to have opportunities for students to park. That we will definitely circle back on next week, and I will include it in my next week's newsletter on Mustang Spirit prior to Friday. So I just wanted to let you know. We are working closely, Sevi Padilla, our director of facilities, and the rest of the facilities crew to make sure that we have that plan in place. And really what we're asking for is your patience and grace as the city moves forward with the demolition of the old high school. What we don't want to do, and I said this in the meeting earlier today, is promise, let's say, the students a particular area, let's say what used to be the senior lot or what used to be the junior lot, and all of a sudden 3 weeks into us starting school, we have to change the entire plan, and then I have to tell the seniors, I'm sorry, you cannot drive to school anymore. So we're really trying to think, we're trying to be really, I think, proactive when it comes to what we're deciding for our kids. So we appreciate your patience at this time, and I'll definitely, hopefully, maybe have an update for the seniors on Tuesday, okay? Our new home. Here is an incredible picture, as you can see. Right down on the right side of your screen is going to be our library. I was in there actually doing a punch list check, making sure that there are no holes in the ceilings or the walls. And you can just see just a beautiful open space that our students are going to have to utilize. And so we've gotten several questions about, Mr. Hills, are we going to be able to walk around the building? Are we going to be stuck in the classrooms all day? Absolutely not. We believe that this space is open wide enough where we can actually train our students to make sure that they have these opportunities to meet in the library, to meet in the atrium, to have, let's say, a beverage from the Mustang mug. Those are all important parts to what we want to utilize the building for. And so I just wanted to point that out. If you go to the next screen, you can take a look at the project that's coming along. We're about, 3 weeks away from substantial completion. You can see right here on floor 5 is going to be our green roof, where we're going to have some of our plants, and it's a beautiful place ultimately for our students to kind of go outside, maybe eat some lunch, and we're excited about that. Right here, you can see the bleachers were just recently put in. I was over there a couple days ago. We have the emblem, the Mustang emblem on the floor, and it overlooks the field, and it is just absolutely gorgeous. I think pictures cannot ultimately do it justice, so we are hopeful to get in there as soon as possible, and really you can experience it for yourself, students and families. More pictures. I think I showed this at the other presentation. That's actually our standard classroom. I think that's level 3, where we have our AVER cameras, our desks in, nice collaborative space, but also open space for the students. And so that's going to be important during this time. That's right there on the right. It's actually a picture overlooking our baseball field, where we have these collaborative spaces, appropriately socially distanced, of course, to make sure that students have time, whether it's during lunch, in class. Let's say that's a spot for them to read. It's a spot for them to complete an assignment. They can use that during class as well. And that's something we're really guiding our teachers towards. We're excited about this. It really is an incredible place. Once again, the instruction piece, I just wanted to point out that the AVER cameras have really given us the ability to do some pretty incredible things, including that simultaneous instructional model. One of the things I emphasize, and I appreciate it, I think we received 100% of the forms back, the intention forms for virtual or hybrid. That was critical for us when we think about continuing with our master schedule, but also making sure that students are able to have that simultaneous instructional experience. And so thank you very much for that. I went over the lunches, and so we recognize that we may have to adjust the time a little bit. We wanted to give students as much time as possible, but also recognizing that we had to spread out the lunches and add an additional lunch. I know Mr. Sorensis, Mr. Laub have been working really hard behind the scenes to try to make sure that we have the opportunity for students built in that schedule to transition, but also to have time to eat lunch with their peers and not just stay in their class. Mr. Laub or Mr. Sorensis, did you guys want to chime in on the lunch schedule at all?
No, you've described our thought process here is that we're, with our hybrid schedule, we would at most have half of our student body in the building. Our lunchroom is bigger than the cafeteria that we have at the current high school. And we've added a 4th lunch to this instead of just 3 lunches. And our goal here is thinking about the spreading students out, but also providing an opportunity for kids to step away from laptops and step away from classrooms and be able to eat in a safe environment. But yes, flexibility.
And real quick, I'll just chime in too. I know there may be some concerns about eating in a large space like that, and just know that we'll address those concerns individually as well. So we think it's an important opportunity, but we're also going to be open to listen to any concerns that individual students may have.
No, thank you for that, Mr. Sorensis. And I think some of those concerns are addressed on this slide. Right? We recognize that lunches are going to be pre-made. They're going to be bagged. So the lunch is not going to be similar to what we used to experience, right? The open line, the buffet, that's not how we're doing things. And because these kind of structural changes, we feel confident and comfortable that we're going to be able to follow those particular guidelines. But we did feel the socialization piece was extremely important, making sure that students had that opportunity. And so you can take a look at this. One of the things I did want to point out and highlight, we are not allowing off-campus lunches. All right, I know that's something many of the seniors are used to, maybe some of our juniors as well, but that's something when we think about mitigation practices, making sure that we follow our protocols, that goes against everything we believe in. When students are in this particular building, we want to make sure that they're safe, that they're secure, and we can't have them leaving campus and coming back on the campus. If you do have any additional questions about that, like I said, please feel free to reach out to me directly or use the reopening.org email. one of the things that we've been trying to work through transitions. I know I was in the new building last week and we tried to time being up on level 5, going down to the lower level. So let's say one of the academic learning labs, going all the way down to the band room. And it's about a 4-minute walk. But one of the things you'll recognize and understand once you get in the building, when you experience it, is there is so much space. So when we thought about staggered transition times, we didn't think that it was going to be necessary because of the layout of the building. So think academic wings, 3rd floor, 4th floor, 5th floor. The majority of students' core classes are going to be on those 3 levels. When they have to traverse, let's say, from 5 all the way down to the lower level, or from 5 to 3, they're going to be able to do this in a manner where we believe we can keep students socially distanced. And so we're going to work with our students, as I mentioned earlier, with the work of Mr. Knight. We're going to be creating videos so students have an understanding of what to expect on that January 12th date, but we feel really good about where we are. Couple reminders that we just need to let our students know. We're definitely going to be wiping down the desk. Also, get your materials ready for class, and we want to make sure that those transitions are seamless. And so these are things that are just going to take time. We want to remind our students to avoid gatherings, use your backpacks to avoid time in the hallway. The thing we're going to have to get used to is reminding our students, and students, you'll start to figure this out. I can't congregate with, let's say, 10, 20 of my friends during those 6-minute transition periods. And so that's just going to take time, reminders, and really a concerted collaborative effort from all of us. Okay. So I appreciate all of you in advance. I did want to go ahead and just reiterate. I know we've talked a lot about athletics and activities. I believe Mr. Wooten, Ms. Trebles, if you want to kind of chime in here and just remind some of our folks about the dates and kind of what we're doing. I know I just came from basketball practice about an hour ago. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, of course. Mr. Wooten is actually getting ready for our boys and girls basketball parent meetings, which I'll hit on in a second. But we do have a slide. And I'll talk about some of our main points there.
All right.
All right. So for, as many of you may know, like Mr. Hill said, we kicked off our winter or VHSL season 1 this Monday with basketball and winter cheer tryouts, and they started practices. I guess today was the first day of that. Wrestling and swim will follow up next week. In regards to COVID precautions, we've got a lot that we've been implementing throughout the off season, but students have a screener prior to any team event, whether that's a meeting, a practice, or a game, and their temperatures are taken as they either get on the bus or before practice, whatever that event is. Masks are required at all athletic events, and VHSL just put out a press release about this too. So during practice, that's an update from VHSL as of today. Students have to bring their own hand sanitizer to practices, buses, and we're really pushing water since there won't be access to those bubbler fountains like Principal Hardy talked about. As I mentioned, Coach Wooten is running sport-specific parent meetings to meet with parents in smaller groups to address the questions that each team has. And we're trying to be really flexible. Our schedule is getting updated as, new things come about from VHSL, from other schools. So we'll keep you up to date, and your coaches will keep you up to date on that. In February is the planned VHSL start for what are typically our fall sports. And then April is the start for what are typically spring sports. Coming with fall and spring registration, we are shifting to an online registration system instead of turning in physical paper copies of everything. And our athletic fees will be paid using My School Bucks, which some of you might be familiar with for other things like lunch or other fees associated with school. Our clubs will still continue to meet. They've been really active, which has been cool to see a lot of kids connecting on Thursdays, but they'll work either after school or virtually.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Ms. Trebles. And I just wanted to point out, I'm so glad you put on here flexible schedule updates. I applaud our community, our students, for being flexible, for being able to kind of transition with what seems like the forever evolving, changing system that we have in place. But ultimately, there are going to be changes to the schedule, and we appreciate all of your ability to make sure that that is something that allows us to continue, but we accept and move on. And so that's definitely going to be something that we continue to update our families and student athletes on. So thank you. Technology, we have kind of the same slide on here, but we continue to reiterate the expectations. I continue to bold the charger because it's important and we need it. If your child or students, for those of you watching right now, if you do need a charger, please make sure you're reaching out to myself or Mr. Knight, and we'll make sure that we get that for you. We went over the illnesses, and I just wanted to say, you know, when we think about attendance and the attendance expectations, we're kind of following the same protocols and procedures that we've done in the past, right? So you're going to reach out to us. Let's say it's a mild illness. We're going to mark that student as ill, obviously. We're keeping these things confidential, but it is so important that we have these open lines of communication to make sure that we're in the know, but also that we can support your child to make sure that they're doing okay. And so if we do have to pause, as Ms. Hardy and I mentioned, that is something that we're going to kind of go over with that particular student, the class, or the impacted group of students. And so when we think about pausing, that's kind of what we're talking about. And this is something that may happen in a class or even in a sport. And so we will talk about those procedures if and when that does become something we have to worry about. Once again, and I kind of staged it here, you can see I have hundreds of these bins. I'm sure, Ms. Aisler, you're tired of looking at these bins because you've been here what seems like 16 to 20 hours a week. Thank you so much to all of our volunteers. As we put on here, we had more than 20 volunteers who have spent 100+ hours helping us pack this 70-year-old school. And it is a monumental task. It cannot just be our faculty. It cannot just be the administrators. It really is all of our parent volunteers that are coming in. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart. It's the only way we're going to be able to move into the building on time, ready to rock and roll. So I appreciate all your support. All right, I'm being told that I went 4 minutes over. It is 8:04. I know several of you parents and students, you have a meeting that you have to go to at 8:15. I think that's our basketball team meeting. Thank you again for joining us. You know, we appreciate all of your support. We are hopeful. We are looking forward to getting into the building after the new year. I hope everyone has a healthy, happy, and safe holiday season. Seniors, for those of you on the call, I will see you next Tuesday at 10:20 to talk about the exciting week of January 5th. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening. Thank you all, Mustang community.